Hey everyone, my name is Sam and thanks for checking out this video. If you are normal returning person, I'm sorry, I know this is a week late, but had a conference, I've already explained it in another video. Let's move on from it. So I'm fairly certain that there must have been a month past where and then my time was erased, because I feel like January went on an awful long time. When I look at the first book that I read this year and I was like, that was only a month ago? Oh, jeez, this is going to be a long year. With that being said, I think I read 27 books. I really wasn't as good as keeping records this month as I normally am, so I think it's 27. Or, yeah. We'll just go with 27. And I'm going to work backwards, actually, because I have a stack of books to show you when I talk about them, but my genius brain put them the wrong way up. So the book I read at the end of the month is the first one on the top. So we're just going to go with that. The last book that I read in the month, I'm just going to move backwards, we'll do that. It was Banished, The Ark by Betsy Chow. This book's actually now out on shelves. A Treacherous Curse by Deanna Rayborn, the third book in the Veronica Speedwell series. The Lost Girls of Camp Forevermore by Kim Fu and E. Ark. I actually ended up DNFing this. Shadow Black by Sebastian de Castell, the second book in the Spellslinger, I think it's a 6-book series now. Winter Station by Jodi Shields? I don't know. It'll be in the description box down below. I got it as an ARC, and I actually also ended up DNFing this. The Librarian of Auschwitz by Antonio Iturbe and translated by Lilith Thwaites. Fatty Legs by Christy Fenton Jordan. The Woman Who Smashed Code by Jason Fagone. Heretics Anonymous, The Ark by Katie Henry. The Valiant by Leslie Livingston, the first book in the Valiant trilogy. The Kiss of Deception by Mary Pierce, the first book in the Remnant Chronicles trilogy. Shadow Warrior by an author that I am literally totally blanking on the name of, but I'll link in the description box down below, and I'll put it right here once I'm editing it and look it up, because I'm sorry, I can't remember everyone's name, and I wrote it down somewhere, but it's lost. My apartment's a hot mess. I'm sorry. The Rebels of Gold by Elise Kova, the third and final book in the Loom Saga series. Trilogy, not series, trilogy. Sight Witch, the e-preview excerpt by Susan Dennard. The Sweetest Kind of Fate, the second book in the Windy City series, yes, by Crystal Sestari. The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss, I think? Yeah, I think that's right. The first book it is a series with an extremely long name, which I will once again put here, but it's like The Extraordinary People Traveling Through Europe or something like that. The Wicked Deep Arc by Shay Earnshaw. I actually read the E-Arc, but I managed to pick up a physical arc at my conference, which I never plan on giving away because it's so pretty, and I plan on rereading it. An Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors by, oh my god, my brain is dead today. I literally can't remember anyone's name. Something Curtis. Curtis Craddock? Maybe? Maybe? If that's right, I can give myself a high five or pat on the back for that one. The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden. The second book in the Wind Witch, I think it's called now, trilogy, but it's the Bear and the Nightingale trilogy. The Fair Fight by Anna Freeman. The Power by Naomi Alderman. The City of Brass by, I know I'm not going to say this right, but S.A. Chakrabarty. I'm sorry if that's not right. I'm really trying. Glitter by April and Pike, the first book in the Glitter duology. Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu, the second book in the DC Icons, I think it's second, quartet. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. I actually read the illustrated edition, but it's at the bottom of my Harry Potter pile right now because I read it, and I'm not lifting all those books. I have like 20 books on top of it, people. I have a Harry Potter hoarding problem. I'm sorry. Traitor's Blade by Sebastian de Castell, which I actually do own a signed copy now of, but my mother wanted to read it, so I had to leave it in Ontario. Can't wait for my book to come back into my arms. I can hug it and put it back on its proper spot on the shelf. And the first book that I read in January, but the last book on this list, was The Revolution of Marina M by Janet Fitch. My brain is like, can you tell I haven't had all of the caffeine I should have had this morning? Oh my goodness. So in case you are new to this and unaware of how I do my monthly wrap-up, I give you a list of the books that I read, my most favorite, most least favorite, and then the books that surprised me the most, and then I give you some lessons that these books taught me that are extremely sarcastic, because in case you haven't been able to tell yet, I am an extremely sarcastic human being. Easily, hands down, even though I read a lot of good books this month, I couldn't pick between these two, but my most favorite books this month were The One Who Smashed Code by Jason Fagone. It was so good and so interesting. I learned so much from that. It wasn't like a textbook feel. It was just like, if you want to learn anything thinking about cryptology, or like your brain is like, hey, I just noticed that we don't learn about women an awful lot in history. Read the book, okay? It's so interesting. And then the second one was Heretics Anonymous, the Ark. I am going to try and sell the firstborn that I do not have to try and get a physical hand copy of that Ark, because that is probably one, yeah, no, it's like my second favorite standalone that I can at this point I can say, behind the Book Thief. I don't know if anything will ever be able to dethrone the Book Thief, nor do I think it's necessarily appropriate to compare the two, because they're quite different. But Heretics Anonymous, I mean, this was the first book. Like, I'm a fairly privileged straight white woman, okay? Like, YA is kind of my wheelhouse that perpetually reflects me. However, one of the big parts of my personality is that I'm an atheist. I'm not an angry atheist, as you may think all they are. I'm just an atheist. And I got kind of annoyed that when there are the characters that are, you know, non-believers, they just label themselves as like agnostics, or they're like, oh, it's because I loved my family and God would have protected my family, but he didn't, and so came and massacred my family. No, that's not me either. Just an atheist. So this is literally, I don't think I could think of another book, honestly, that I've ever read with an atheist character, and it's funny. Like, it's literally my brain and my high school experience. I've never related so deeply to a book. And I know, like you said, once again, you're a straight white woman living in a first world country. You get lots of rep. Yes, but this one I really seriously, like, connected to. I kind of cried at the end, so yeah. My least favorite book was probably Shadow Warrior. It was a juvenile book, and it wasn't bad. It's just because all the other books were really good this month that I started getting nitpicky. Like, kind of like disclaimer here that I try to avoid putting books that I DNF'd in here just because I didn't finish it. So, you know, how can I know if the book itself is like, yeah. So, the least one is Shadow Warrior with that author that I apologize that I'm just so very blanking today on names, but I'll put it right here. My big issue with this is the subtitles, like, the true story of the woman ninja warrior, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end it says, she was probably real. You are giving a book to children. You put in the title that this is true. You can't put a little footnote at the end and be like, well, we think it's true. Put it in the title of the probably true. Then I could give you it. But no, no, no. The way that they did that, I'm super, super, like, disappointed in that. That's how you get, like, fake history information news as a kid and grow up and think they're super weird things. And the most surprising book that I read this month was, and I am kind of surprised by it, was An Alchemy of Masks and Mirrors. Like, I want to say it's Curtis Craddock. I literally don't even know if that's a real name. It's just in my brain. My friend Meg suggested this to me, and in all honesty, I don't trust Meg right now. I know she's watching this, so I just want to make her angry. But, you know, sometimes we agree on books. There's other times that we don't agree on books. Ruined. But yeah, so she suggested this to me, and I looked at it and I was like, that cover, and I know she likes the cover. I don't hate the cover. I just don't think anything of it. It's just meh. I think they could have slapped a really cool cover on this based on the concept that would have better reflected it. Because right now it just looks kind of like a worn out old painting that maybe is Spanish kind of influence or something. But you read it and like the cover just didn't match the book itself to me, nor would I pick this book up off the shelf just based on the cover. So I was really surprised at how much I loved it. And like I said, I kind of wish they would do a mid-series cover change for this. A, just to make Meg angry, but also so that it would be an upgrade and I could buy it and then just want to buy the trilogy because, or I think it's supposed to be a trilogy, because I want to read the next book and I would love to buy them. But part of the appeal of me buying books instead of renting it from the library is the cover, to make it look pretty on my shelves. I don't really feel that with this book, but I loved it. Internal problems, inner turmoil. I feel like this is the part of the segment where I should be able to put my glasses on and pull like a full like stereotypical librarian. However, I have my contacts in, so I would have to like voluntarily do this to myself to go blind, or somehow manage to take my contacts out without messing up all my makeup and everything. And I'm just not really willing to do that. So just pretend that I'm wearing glasses. Yeah. So January was actually a relatively like good month for me, I find. I feel like it did a lot of learning. And like just in case someone doesn't pick up on this, most of these are really super sarcastic. Some of them are serious. I'll point out when they are serious, but just default assume that they are heavily sarcastic. But one of the serious things that I did this month was I read like several e-arcs. I read Heretics Anonymous, The Wicked Deep, the Sight Witch preview excerpt, and tried to read the Winter Station, and I tried to read The Lost Girls of Camp Forevermore, and I read The Sweetest Kind of Fate, like ebooks. I had not read an ebook in several years because I remember reading once on my e-reader that I bought to try and like be like, oh, ebooks are cheaper, which they really aren't anymore. But read it and I couldn't read ebooks. But now I found out through these books I can read ebooks. I just have to read the right ebooks and on a tablet now. I feel like that's just my wheelhouse. So yeah, I can apparently read ebooks. And then I went kind of crazy on NetGalley because everyone told me you should be ready to get rejected. And that did not happen. I have so many arcs to go through now. Shame on you all. The Revolution of Marina M just reminded me of what I learned in university, that present-day Russia is a lot more like, is a lot less advanced, I guess, like, logically and, like, socially than it was, like, during the Revolution. So, you know, post-Revolution is more orthodox now than it was back then. However, I definitely would have been killed in this time period. Definitely wouldn't have survived it. Definitely not. Batman Nightwalker taught me that I literally am still never able to imagine Batman as anything younger than 30. He's a teenager in this book, and the whole time I'm just imagining Christian Bale. Glitter taught me and reminded me that glitter ruins families. The drug and the aesthetic sparkly thing. That's a bit of an adult joke for you there. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone finally gave me that feeling of nostalgia that old people always tell me about. I cried at chapter 2. Don't know why. Just because it was Harry Potter and I was rereading. I'm literally water-eyed right now. What is wrong with me? The ability of masks and mirrors taught me / reminded me that the ability to travel through mirrors would be so immensely helpful. Do you know how cheap traveling would be? As someone who had to pay $100 in overweight baggage fees through Air Canada for one bag in January / technically February, I could get behind this. The bag was only $25 to check. How is it overweight goes to $100 extra, $126 something plus taxes? It was literally cheaper for me to buy a bag, another bag, and check that bag. How does that make any financial, logical sense? I'm sorry I'm ranting, but I'm just really angry about this, and my trip back was not good. The power taught me that humans just should never be put in charge of anything. Gender doesn't matter. Sexual orientation doesn't matter. We're all just really bad people, apparently. Or the people that have the personalities to get into politics, just really bad people. The City of Brass introduced me to the concept of people, when they're meshed, like, races or orientations or something into society, one superior person will start trying to abuse the other people. Did you know that that happens? The fair fight kind of reminded me / made me feel really good about myself that I find child marriages creepy and uncomfortable even in literature now. Doesn't matter the time period, still creepy. The Girl in the Tower just, like, affirmed my belief that I would have been killed in Russia. Like, during any time period. I could have popped up. I don't think I would have made it 2 weeks. Don't think so. I have too big of a mouth, as I've said before. The Wicked Deep reminded me that, in addition to that I can read ebooks, that I will read and support anything Hocus Pocus related, as well as I can, like, insta-love. I didn't know that. Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter reminded me that I get goosebumps every time Sherlock Holmes gets brought up. Oh my god, I just realized I forgot to include A Study in Pink in this entire list. Oh well, if you're at this point, I read the story of Study in Pink to this original list because I'm not refilming this. The Sweetest Kind of Fate reminded me that an author can bring up interesting premises, but they can conclude the book without explaining it. Not everything has to make sense. Shadow Warrior reminded me that women have been using the fact that they are women and men underestimate them in order to get around men and get above men for centuries, since before Japan was even a country. The Woman Who Smashed Code reminded me of a couple things. Women can literally make an entire new field that saves your country from World War II Nazis and can still be shafted in history. This book also taught me more about South American and Latin American World War II history than I learned in any university courses or anything that I took. Just like Keto and Keto No. I did 6 years of post-secondary, 4 of them in history. And World War II history on top of that. I literally never learned any of this information before. I feel like I should demand tuition reimbursement. Heretics Anonymous made me feel like that was the first time a book truly, like, reflected me. And I know that sounds super cheesy, and this is, like, a weirdly serious one. But I've never so deeply related to a main character as I did in this book. And it's, like, about a serious part of me that, like, is important to me. So I felt, like, I literally cried at the end of it. So I guess it taught me, like, what it feels like to be truly represented in a book. I don't know that there's a real lesson in that. I just want to emphasize that I cried in this book. Oh, I have to put that on the list. Fatty Legs just reminded me that Canada can be dick sometimes. The Librarian of Auschwitz reminded me that Germany can be dick sometimes. The Winter Station reminded me that I can read a book and not like it. I was getting worried that I was going to have to continue reading every book and series that I started. Shadow Black reminded me, / made me realize that I don't have any children yet, but I would literally give up a metaphorical firstborn in order to obtain a squirrel cat in real life. Treacherous Curse, I will just riot. I need this to be on record in like its own thing. I will riot if Veronica and Stoker don't get together. Looking at you, Deanna Rayborn. And Traitor's Blade made me realize I want a book set in medieval times where the entire premise is the purge. You know, that like series where like everyone just like laws get revoked. Yeah, I want that. I want it in a book, and I want medieval times, and I want it to be violent, and I want it to be detailed, and I honestly want Sebastian de Castell to write it, just cause he's funny and I love him. So yeah. So that is my January wrap up. Let me know in the comment section down below what you read in January, how many books you read total, what your favorite, least favorite was, if you've read any of these, disliked them, all that fun stuff. And also check out the description box down below for links to all of the books and links to all of my social media, because if you follow me, I will follow you back.